into the idea of the retail business and understand what's the pulse that you're seeing at the moment, that kind of trending in the business of retail.
$1 million question. Retailing has always been about change and evolution, and in some instances revolution. And I think we're suffering through some huge global pressures at the moment, as we all know. So I think the general consumer is finding their pockets squeezed. So I think they're being far more discerning in terms of their spend. So I think there are some interesting trends at the moment. So I think generally speaking, people are looking for good value. And I think what's happening therefore is that certain consumers are taking one notch down in terms of their shopping behaviour. So I think that's an interesting trend, it's an interesting dynamic. I think luxury is pretty much protected because people that have the disposable income will readily spend it without too many concerns. And I think the other thing is niche businesses. If you've got a niche business that sits in a specific sector, and we're quite fortunate, I think probably 40% of some of our group turnover actually sits in a niche category around lingerie, and it's probably a little bit more commodity based. And I think those things are a little bit more protected. So I think you've always got to be talking to your front end consumers to try and understand, what's interesting them, what's bothering them, what they want from you, and trying to align your trading strategies with those consumers. Because if you lose touch with the consumer, and you become a kind of what I would call an arrogant retailer, where you believe that you're doing everything correctly, then you'll trip up. So I think engagement with your consumer is paramount at all steps, particularly when times are tough.
Correct. And you have been mastering this region for, since when we...
15 years. 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years. So what is the speciality of this region? I've asked many retailers, and I really am intrigued to know what's your thought. What's the speciality?
The resilience is remarkable. I think the resilience in the region is quite remarkable. I think if you're looking at other parts of the world, whether it be the US or Europe in particular, when there are things always go in cycles, and there are peaks and troughs and so on and so forth. I would generally say that I think the peaks and troughs that happen in other parts of the world are deeper on the trough side. And I think here, we have to thank the government and the way that the country's run, because I think the fiscal policies are generally extremely supportive, to the local market. And in all my time here, I think across the GCC countries, I see fiscal stimulus that certainly helps the general economy and the retail sector in particular. So I would say that those troughs are not as deep, and the resilience has been remarkable over the 15 years that I've been here.
Amazing. And obviously with COVID, there was a concern that, luxury retail will pick up or not, brick and mortar will pick up or not. But this region obviously is an exception. But your point of view on that, like how has it changed since the new one,
Well, I think there are two, I see two tracks from the COVID era. There were the people that slept and the people that were awake. And I think the people that were dynamic and they were prepared to take risks and they were prepared to reevaluate their business. And I tell this story a lot. So we were locked down effectively quite hard for 3 weeks. So we took the opportunity, myself and the leadership team, remotely sat where we were sat across the region, to rewrite our business strategy and look at every single brand we had, the way that we operated. We actually wrote a 5-year plan in the COVID period. You think, well, that's crazy. Surely you just wait and find out how it was all going to play out. And so we did the opposite. We literally looked at every brand, turned over every single stone, and came up with some solutions to fit the problem and/or fit the opportunity. We did some great deals whilst the COVID period was here, where other people were doing nothing. So we invented our business model. We were heavily a franchisee business pre-COVID. We came out of COVID with a view that we could do a lot of these things ourselves, and if you're doing that, then you're obviously not paying somebody else a proportion of your revenue. So we came out with a brand strategy around own label. We came out with a different strategy in terms of brands we wish to expand, brands we wish to consolidate, which channels we wanted to be in, and so on and so forth. So there came quite a robust plan, and obviously you're going back 3+ years now. But we continue to evolve that model that was written then and add to it every single year as we move forward. So touch wood, things have been quite progressive, but retailing is like that.
Right.
And if you want to sit on your hands and do nothing, then if you do nothing, you'll get nothing.
And what about the new terms that we hear all the time? Metaverse, digital transformation. Does it resonate, or you're like, no, it's all okay. I'm just retailing, so it's fun, and that's all I know.
Again, the conversation we were having a little bit before, when we were talking about whether shopping behaviours are any different and so on and so on. Do you know what? Retailing is very simple. It's very, very simple. You have to give people what they want, when they want it, at a price they're prepared to pay. Now, nowadays you've got different channels and you've got different, but it's actually quite a simple. It's quite a simple mechanic. It's supply and demand. Now, retailers have a habit of making that complicated. You don't have to do that. Simplicity is divinity. There's a long-held phrase that I keep dear to my heart. If you keep things simple and you don't overcomplicate things, then you'll generally be okay. So, retailing, if you go back 150, 200 years, was done in a particular methodology. It's done in a particular methodology today. It will be the same but different in another 200 years. There'll just be different mediums, but that old trading mentality for human beings is not going to go away.
Just a fun question to kind of break the mood. Any favorite retailers that you kind of feel wowed?
Favorite retailers? Yes. I mean, I have quite a few.
Yeah. And you have to tell the reason why you love them.
Do you know? This is I have a funny story with this one in terms of how it gets told. But I actually love Uniqlo. I think Uniqlo as a business are fantastic. It's the simplicity of the width of their range, because there's actually not a big SKU choice in their building. They have lots of colours, but they know their consumer. They know the price point. They know what they want. They make it really easy for you to go in and shop. So you go in, you shop, and you leave. You don't even need to talk to anybody because you do it all yourselves. I think they've done an amazing job in terms of mastering that. But they too have failed. And I've often talked about. I recently did an interview with yourselves actually about the principle of failure, because you have to fail to succeed. And Uniqlo failed twice in terms of entry, for example, into the UK and Europe, and they lost a load of money. But then they went back to core principles, came back with a redefined model, and it works a treat. Mm-hmm. So I think you can't give up, and I think I think the culture of that business is fantastic in terms of what it's done. But I've shopped Uniqlo. I was travelling in Japan, so I buy shirts in Europe predominantly. I love their shirts. I buy them for work. So I'm in Japan buying exactly the same shirt, I think. But of course, Japan's sizing is completely different. So I buy the same size I think I would buy here in Japan, and of course I can't even fit it on me. It's quite funny. But that just shows you, I think, the nuances. They don't have a pure plug and play model. It's evolved, and I think they're a highly admired retailer, certainly in my book.
Okay. So any plans to bring them here?
Well, do you know what? I think there are many brands. There are many brands that I've had good conversations with over the years. That, well, I mean, let's be quite honest about it. Sometimes they just don't think the market's big enough.
Really?
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, the population size of Dubai is 5 million.
And there's so much of travel, tourism, inflow of traffic.
That's true, but that's transient.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of businesses will build their business model, on the resident population, because that's unaffected by world problems. It'll still be here. That population will be here. So, I mean, there are a number of retailers, I can't name them, some very big global retailers that I've spoken to personally, and they wouldn't come here. They wouldn't come here yet. It's further down the list of priorities, because they can easily get organic growth by going to other parts of the world first. Having said that, I think there's lots of brands that like to be here for a showcase. But the showcase can't be at the cost of the local partner. The showcase has got to make money, otherwise we wouldn't do it. So I think there's a balance in all those things. But I think Uniqlo have probably got plans to come here. I'm sure it'll be on the list somewhere, as have many others.
Oh, amazing! Inshallah to that, and we'll wait for Uniqlo to come in. Yeah. So just to wrap this up, any last thought that you want to give? A trend that retailers should catch up on, and you think that this is the time that they should kind of start doing this?
Sure. I think for the region, I think there's one thing that I feel very passionately about at the moment, and it's investing in people, because it's a people game, either at a consumer end or a retailing, and the business of doing retail is a people game. So you have to make sure that you're growing your own, developing your own, attracting the right talent, so that you can organically grow your business and head off in the right direction. So and if you've got the right talent, as we had, I think, in our leadership team when we rewrote our business plan, going back those years when COVID was in place, It was the people that determined the direction of the business, not me on my own. It was a collective thought process so that we can actually engineer something for the future. So there'll always be brands that will come and go, but if you've got a solid, sort of a base of individuals that you think can organically trust with your business and they've got great idea generation, you can't go wrong. It's a people business.
Thank you. That's a lovely
My pleasure.
thought too.